on the HRM Plus online professional development platform, a place you can go to see the district-wide catalog for professional development, a place you can go as PD specialists, directors to request or post professional development, a place you can go to make sure that clock hours are integrated into those professional development. Also a place you can go as an employee of the Yakima School District to see what PD you're signed up for, full reports, see kind of a overview of what you've been up to, and collection of your clock hours and things like that. So there's more than that in there, but that's kind of the baseline right now. And we're really just trying to build awareness and get us in there to play and learn. We go live with this in June. It's a slow roll. So we're training everybody now. Principals are next. We did T&L directors. We did their support staff yesterday. You guys are today. Principals have a couple opportunities in the next couple weeks. And then teachers in May will have an opportunity, and we'll offer some more in June and August because we know not everybody's going to make it. And then we'll record everything and make sure everybody has access to the recordings. It is a location, an online platform that will hopefully look really familiar to you. It's nothing new. We're trying not to add more new things. It's where you go to apply for jobs or look at applicants. So the platform or the interface will look really familiar. Our human resources is also connected to this. So everybody's already in there. HR, when we're working in the PD platform, it talks to HR and tells them when somebody's taking professional development or upping their clock hours. So everybody's in sync with HR. And then payroll is coming on board next. So they will also be in the loop when somebody is building their capacity and going up on the pay scale. So it's all connected. It's all a platform we've already used. So nothing new, just want to start using it. So I'm going to stop talking. Shelby's had too much coffee. It's Bree's turn. Bree, welcome. These are our PD specialists and some directors. So these are our professional development gurus out here ready to learn how to use the platform.
Awesome.
I'll stop talking now.
Awesome. Well, good morning, and thanks for spending a little time with us today. While I'm presenting, please feel free to ask questions in the chat or unmute yourself and ask a question that way. I don't mind. I get a little excited and kind of get going, and sometimes I talk a little fast. So if I'm going too fast and not making sense, you have permission to interrupt me and ask questions. I'm very excited for you guys to get going with your professional development portal system. And this is kind of one of my favorite things to do. So let's get started. I'm going to turn off my camera just so that I don't experience any lag on my side while I'm presenting. And then I'm a little less self-conscious. Okay. So we're going to kind of follow this roadmap today. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're going to, once we get you into your account, a couple steps that we want you to follow as registering as an instructor. And then we're going to follow or talk about the process of submitting your clock hour proposals, how to view and print reports, and some of the tools within the system. So this is our little roadmap, kind of I guess our objectives for today. Okay. So let's start with registering as an instructor. Once you log into your account, we're going to have you navigate to My Records and go to your personal information tab. And near the bottom, I'm going to mute so we don't have feedback, sorry. Near the bottom of the screen is this little box that it says register as an instructor. Now, all of you have been given the instructor role, but we still need you to do this one little step. And when you do that, you'll have an additional tab added to your account where regular employees wouldn't have this tab. And you're going to want to complete the information on this tab. And the reason we do that, part of the clock hour policy, or the rules that come from OSPI, are instructors. I guess we'll just read the actual WAC. It says all in-service education instructors shall have academic or professional experience which specifically qualifies them to conduct an in-service education program. For example, expertise in a particular content area, field, or occupation. So if you're an instructor for like your local ESD, I'm sure that you completed a VITA or submitted your resume to be an instructor. Well, instead of doing that, you can upload one, but another way to show compliance with the state is to fill out this tab within the system, and this kind of holds that data, and that way we can show, if we were ever audited, that we have that information on file. And the key piece of all the things here that's most important is to fill out this biography box. And we just want you to put in your academic, professional experience, or anything that qualifies you to be an instructor. You also can, from these drop-down fields, select things like areas of expertise. And when you're done, you just save it. If you don't complete everything, it might scold you with a little message saying you must do this. But for all we truly, truly care about is that you complete this biography piece. What happens is, for every course that's added to the system, there's a little report that goes along with it. It's kind of the advertisement of the course. It's called the course detail report. And for whomever is listed as that lead instructor, their biography information is included, so that we're showing to participants of the course that the instructor is qualified to teach. So that's a little why we do that. Okay? Questions about that? But that's how we like to be compliant with the state. Part of the reason why a online system is often put in place is it does all those little checks and balances for a district in helping them stay compliant and follow all the rules that are put in place by the state. Okay, so now on to the fun part. How do I submit my clock hour proposals? When you're in the system, you'll navigate to the course request tab. And that's right here, this middle tab. And all the course requests that you have created will be listed on the screen, and over time it'll grow. And if you're a very prolific presenter, you might have multiple pages of data. To begin, you start by pressing the Add button, and it's going to open the screen, and you're going to complete 8 sections, or 7 sections of data related to your course request. Things to consider, which you're probably all aware, but I always like to go over this when we're talking about clock hour specifically. Before any course can be approved, it needs to be reviewed by your clock hour committee. And the things that they specifically will be looking at are the date of the course, the number of clock hours being offered, your objectives, your program agenda, the instructor and their qualifications, which we just talked about, and the relation of your course to the clock hour standards. And I'll show you how the system easily does that for you in just a second. So to begin, when you first press that Add button, the first screen opens, and this is probably the most involved section of the course request. And a little side note, you're going to complete all the red fields because those are the required fields. And this is a live web page, so you'll want to make sure that you can complete this first page in a timely manner. I always say set aside 30 minutes to make sure that you can get it done. If you're familiar with online banking, you know what happens if you stay on the page too long, it logs you out. So if you were to start this and then decide, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee and go walk outside and walk around the block and stuff, and then come back and expect your data to be there, the screen typically won't, because it's logged you out. So just set a goal for yourself to get through this first thing and press the continue button the very first time, so that the system can record your data and assign a course ID number. And that's how you know that you've saved this first section. And you could, at that time, you can keep coming back and making changes. You don't have to continue at this point. You could shut your browser down and come back and finish at another time. I always like to point out, when you're writing objectives, make sure that they're in the form of what a participant will know or be able to do as a result of a training, not just what they're going to be doing. But that's an aside. After you finish that first page, you're going to move on to the second section, which is the criteria. And this serves two purposes. The first purpose is it allows participants to search for the course on the course registration tab. So if we go back to this system, this is where regular employees, regular users will go, and over time, this is just my sample course, all of your PD opportunities are going to show up. And there may be at one point many courses listed. And we want to give them tools to search your catalog and find courses that are applicable and meaningful to them, so they have the ability to search through the criteria that we establish. So maybe by target audience or content focus or grade level. They can also come and search through, typing by title or location, or look by instructor to find courses. So that's one reason why criteria is used. The second reason, and I often think might be the more important reason, is it allows the district to kind of manage courses and run reports based on those established criteria. Oftentimes there's funding involved, and we have to be able to account for funding. We have grants or something, so we need to tag and track the courses that we're offering. And this tab is essential in handling that. We talked about with the clock hour rules that we need to show how a course relates to the state content standards. We've added that as a criteria here. So you can easily pick one of the 10 or more that apply to your course objectives and whatnot. Okay, I'm going to pause because I see a question. Someone said, should we be able to see the instructor information tab? After you check the box in my records, it would add to your account. If you don't see the instructor tab on the big main menu, let me know and I'll make sure that you have the instructor role, because we might have missed you. So Molly, if you don't, I will fix your account at the end of the training today. Okay, moving on. After you add all your criteria, you'll want to add a selection for every box that's highlighted in red. If the item doesn't really fit, we always include a not applicable. And then you'll press the continue button at the bottom of the screen. It'll take you to the next section. Section 3 deals with limits. You can put limits on your course. Limits let people kind of restrict who can or cannot register for your class. The default is always no limits, so anybody can register. You can set a limit by location, so only people who are assigned to a particular location will see the register button. And you can add, it can be more than one, or you can set a limit by PD groups. When a district is just launching their system, I always caution using limits because they can be a little confusing, and it's something that we might want to hold off on for a little while and revisit later, but just know that they are there. Chad has a question about access for the system. We'll go over logging in and where everything is when we loop back at the end. if that's okay, Chad. But I'll make sure that we take care of you. So that's limits. And then you'll have a little arrow button. You can go to the next section. And this is credits. This is also vitally important. You know, that first section, we kind of established our course. We picked, you know, the title, you'll put your title, your objectives, all that good stuff. But here's where we're going to put in our number of clock hours or credits that we're going to offer for our course. Throughout the system, you're going to see kind of a consistent colored button whenever you have an action of adding data. So you're going to look for the add button, the little green add credit type. And when you press that button, a little box opens and you're going to select your credit type. Most often it'll be clock hours, or there's a non-clock hour. And actually yesterday I looked at it, I think it said classified training. If for some reason your district wants to add additional credit types, we can do that. And then you're going to put in your credits. Credits is synonymous for hours, so the number of hours. And by default, the provider will always be Yakima School District because you are essentially your own provider. And then you're going to press save. You could put in a comment if you needed to. A lot of people ask, what does this little auto-populate mean? In some other states that use the system, they have different rules for providing credits to employees, and they will offer multiple credit types at one time. And then when someone goes to enroll, they have to choose between a credit type. And so that wouldn't auto-populate, so that means the employee is having to pick and do some extra thinking. We want to make the registration process as simple as possible for your staff. So by checking auto-populate when they go to register, they don't have to consider the credits. It's just going to do all that in the background for them. So that's what that little auto-populate means. After you've saved a credit record, if for some reason when you're looking at your agenda and say you start doing the math and you realize, oh, I didn't put the right credits, I need to edit them, I need to fix that, you can come back to this section and you'll see this lovely pencil, and that's the edit button. If you click on the pencil, it'll reopen this screen and you can come in here and amend that record and save it again, and then your new total will show up below. So credits, it's simple to add them. That's how we do it. And then you'll arrow to the next section. This is where you're going to upload your agenda and any other course materials that you want to share with participants. It's also hopefully pretty simple. You'll start by clicking the Browse button, which will then open up a menu that allows you to surf and browse your computer to find the file wherever you've saved it. And once you find it, it'll be listed right here in this little box, and you'll press this upload button. And then it'll get listed down below. And you can then, if you want, click the little edit button, and you could give a description to that file if it's necessary. You don't by any means have to do that, because the file name by itself is typically adequate. And then you can add as many files as you need or would like. And then when you're ready, press the continue button and go to the next section. Section 6 allows you as the instructor to add any links to your course that you would like to share with your participants, like a Google Doc, a YouTube video, or any web URL, like any websites that might bring meaning or, be important in relation to the course offering. It's kind of that same idea. You look for the add button. It opens the screen where you can then type or paste the URL and save it. You can then edit it later. You can give it a description. If you make a mistake, this is the delete button, or if you just decide it's not really worth sharing, you can always delete something. And then you can arrow, continue to the next section. And this is the last section that you have to complete when you're submitting a clock hour proposal. And this is also kind of a critical section. I think the first, the fourth, the credits, and then this one, the sessions. We have a couple types of courses. When you're creating the first section, it'll ask you what type of course, and you'll select single session, multi-session, or conference. The most common course types are single and multi-session. And a single session obviously is you meet once and you're done. So when you get to this section, you're going to add one session and that's it. Actually, the system won't let you add anymore because it's a single session course. If you chose multi-session, you're going to be required to add at minimum 2 sessions because a multi-session course, you're going to meet more than once. And the conference course, you're going to add at least 1 track and at least 1 session for each track that you add. We've all been to a conference, and it's usually you have multiple sessions occurring at the same time, and participants pick the session they're going to attend. So conferences aren't used very often, but sometimes the district finds them useful, like if they're doing like a summer institute or some type of PD, in, you know, where they're having all their staff kind of coming together and they're going to have different offerings going on and they want people to kind of select where they're going to go. But not every district that uses the system uses that course type. Just like throughout the system, you want to look for the add button, and you're going to then fill out the little menu that pops open, putting in your date, your start time, your end time, your room, and establishing your seat counts. You have the option to put in comments that might be that you want to share with your participants that are specific to the session. And you also have the ability to assign additional instructors to your course. If your request type is a multi-session course, once you add the first session, we give you a little cheat to help speed up the process, and that is the copy button. And it'll copy that first session, and then you can edit it and change the dates. Okay? So when you press the add button, this is the menu that opens, and the system will autofill the sequence for you. It'll autofill activity. You can overwrite and call your session whatever you would like it. And it'll put, if it's a single session course, it's going to autofill whatever start date that you entered on the first tab. Then you'll put in your start time and your end time and put a specific room number or room. You know, they're not all numbered. Sometimes they have names. You have the option to set a minimum enrollment for your course if necessary. Not every district uses that. Then you're going to set your total numbers of seats available, and that same number would be remaining. We're working on an update so that it just does that for you, but for now you have to put it in both places. It seems silly, but it's just the way it is for now. And then this is where you can put activity comments if you want to communicate to your participants anything specific about this session. Here's that area where you could assign additional instructors to your course. And what happens when you do that is anybody that you assign to your course, they would have access to your course. They can help run reports. They would be able to email the participants. They would be able to help verify attendance when the course is over. So somebody asked, are there limits to the number of clock hours we offer per session? No, that's kind of your district sets the policy on the clock hour length by the session. So that's a good question. All right. And then someone asked about the person minimum, and that is also a district thing. So yes, that's good that that came up. Okay. After you save your record, it'll look something like this. And you'll see that if it's a multi-session, you'll have that little ability to copy it, and it'll copy everything except for it'll now have a sequence of 2 because it'll be the second and the second session. And the system will typically call it session 2. And then you can click the pencil, give it the correct date, and change anything that needs to be changed. We do have, as you'll see up here, the ability to mark it as an asynchronous system, because sometimes you might have sessions, not system. We offer courses where participants are going to be working at their own pace. So it is, there is no real set start time or end time. So if you check the asynchronous session, the start and end times will disappear from the screen. And then you can put in specific information about that asynchronous session down in the comments and save it. When the record gets saved down here, you'll see the start and end time as 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. But on the report that participants view, there won't be any times listed. It will tell them that it's asynchronous. So that's how that works. Right now, we only see start and end time, so we kind of do the math to figure out the number of hours per session. We have a release coming out, hopefully before you go live, where you can actually indicate and break out the hours, because we have the total number of clock hours in section 7, but soon there should be a box here where you can indicate the number of clock hours for the individual session if needed. It'll be an option that districts can choose to use. So this is all you have. These are all the sections of the course request, or the clock hour application, or not clock hour application, but I can't even talk, that you complete. You can go back and forth between the sections and make edits. And once you've decided that you like what you have entered and you're ready, you'll go an arrow past this page and you'll get to the submit page, and you'll press the submit request button. So before you've submitted your request, it'll have a status of pending, and that indicates to the PD manager and the PD department, whatever you want to call them, that that request is in process, that you're working on it. Once you press submit, it sends an email to the PD manager letting them know there's a course awaiting, and then they can kind of notify the clock hour committee that it's time to review it. The course request, the status of your course will then update to review, and that lets you know and everybody know kind of where things stand. After the clock hour committee reviews the course, you'll get an email back letting you know what their decision is, whether it was approved or denied. If it was approved, the status updates to open, and the course shows up on that registration page. If it was denied for some reason, it just stays on. It won't show up, and you'll want to chat with them on why it was denied. Yes, so activity date on an asynchronous session, can it be a window? That's kind of a loose, so activity date is kind of a loose date. That's where those comments are really handy. We usually put like in the activity comments, you might put this, a completion date, or let them know the window, or indicate, you want to put what your expectation is for an asynchronous session in those comments to communicate with your participants how you expect that asynchronous session to work. Does that make sense, Lori? Hopefully. We wanted to make it flexible. And right now, the PD manager, all those emails go to Martala, and then she will communicate to your clock hour committee. She's going to be kind of the messenger and get the emails, and then she's going to share the information with your clock hour committee. So those are also good questions. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Once you press this, submit the request, the system's going to bump you back to that main screen under the course request menu. And I thought I'd just take a second to kind of explain what some of the columns mean, just to give you a little insight. You can filter by any of these titles up here. You can type in these boxes. These little funnels, you can right click on them and they change the filtering options if you need to. This is your edit button to open your course request. After you've submitted it and it's been approved, you shouldn't make any changes to the course other than you might upload additional course materials if you want to share them with your participants, but you need to communicate with your PD group. They can choose to lock you out entirely once it's open. And we'll discuss that I'm going to discuss some things with Shelby and kind of talk through things. But when they do that, then that locks you out from being able to share more materials. So we haven't had a chance to fully talk through the pros and cons of everything. This info button, these are your course detail reports. So what that does is it takes the information that you've entered on the course request and it compiles it into a report format and kind of recaps like the title, it takes your description, your objectives, start date, end dates, location, all that good stuff. And this report's actually a couple pages long. I just snapped the beginning. And this report is available on this menu, but it's also available on the registration screen. And it's available, show you here. That's that same reports here. And after a participant registers for a course, they have My Records course enrollment. The courses that they either participated in or are going to participate in live here. That same report's available here. So that's how they have access to the agenda, or any course links and whatnot are included on that report. Over here, there's that copy icon like on the sessions page. So I've taken the time, I've written this really awesome course and it was really successful. I want to offer it again. We want to save you the time of, and the headache of having to fill out all that wonderful information. You can go ahead and press the copy button and then edit it and change maybe the dates, because maybe that's the only thing that's going to change from on the course request. Or maybe after reviewing the feedback you got from the participants, you're going to change your objectives slightly or your agenda and allow more time on one area than another, because that's what the feedback indicated the participants thought would be useful. If there's an icon in this column, that's the waitlist column. It'll look like this. And that just lets you know that more people have registered than there are seats and they're waiting. So if a seat becomes available, and then they'll get moved into the course. And what happens is, if someone were to cancel their enrollment, the first person in the wait list would then get moved into their seat, and then they would be notified via email that they've been added to the course. That's how wait lists work. And this last row is the registered participant report, and you can click on that and it opens a little report that looks like this. It'll tell you the name of your report, and it breaks it down by sessions if it's a multi-session course, and who is registered and some information about them. And all these reports can be modified and changed, so the district might decide to change them or not. We just haven't gotten that far yet. So that is course request. And that is probably the most involved piece of the whole system. Once you master that, you really have the system mastered. I always like to just quickly, and you guys probably all know this, review a few other considerations around clock hours. Minimum time was reduced to 1 hour back in August 2019. It used to be 3. I love that it's now down to 1, because that offers so much more flexibility when we're creating course offerings. A big one is courses may not be issued retroactively, so we need to get our courses submitted ahead of time to give our clock hour committee time to approve them. Participants need to register prior to taking the course, and we have to keep record of this. Well, the beauty is the system takes care of all that, electronically. It provides all your participation and attendance rosters. So if there was ever an audit by OSPI, we can pull that from the system and show them. To confirm enrollment, I will show you how we confirm enrollment in a few seconds, Christina. And then the content standards and objectives must relate. We're going to tag them on that criteria page and keep that aligned with our courses as well. And there they are. Okay. Questions about course request before we move on to the tools that instructors have at their disposal. Martala is indicated as the PD manager. Basically, she'll just be receiving the emails and communicating to your clock hour committee. It's just a role in the system, but she'll just get the email notifications. Okay, instructor tab. Anybody who has the instructor role has access to the instructor tab, and nested underneath the instructor tab are multiple tools designed to help you manage your professional development courses. So let's go to the site and look at how you find those tools. So if you have the role of instructor, you're going to see this instructor tab, and you'll see the different menu options nested underneath. So these are your tools to help you manage your PD offerings. There's also one more that's kind of hidden off to the side under the management option. Okay. The first tool we're going to show, I'll show you again. So the first tool we're going to talk about is reports, because they're very handy as an instructor. So once I get you logged into your accounts, you're going to hover over the instructor menu, the instructor tab, and you're going to pick the third option down, which is reports. And when you navigate to that menu, you'll have a drop-down selector, and this is where you pick the report you want to run. And you'll notice there's quite a few different reports. We've got a couple attendance rosters. There's an evaluation status report. There's an evaluation summary report, clock hour forms, registered students course, registered students by session, wait list by course, wait list by session. This list of reports may grow over time because I work with districts and we develop what they feel they might need to be useful. To help, I don't even know what the right word is, but let's talk about how we run a report. So let's look at an attendance roster. So let's say today's the day my course is going to meet, and I want to have a roster for people to sign into when they arrive for my course. So I'm going to select the multi-session, and all of our courses are organized by school year to help, just think of it this way. Over time, you're going to end up with a lot of courses within the system. I come from Vancouver Public Schools. I worked in their PD department and HR for 11 years before I switched to the role I'm in now, and I've been doing 9 years. And you can only imagine, and we had a PD system in Vancouver since 2005, so you can only imagine how many courses have been offered. So we break it down by school year because there's thousands. So I'm going to pick this school year and find my course. You will only see courses that you are either the lead instructor or you have been added as an instructor on that instructor on the sessions tab of the course request. You'll select your course and they'll press preview. Word of caution, if for some reason it doesn't open, check up in your browser for a pop-up blocker, because sometimes our browsers update in the middle of the night and you have to change your browser setting to allow. So here is one of the roster samples. And this is one I use for multi-sessions. And the way I would use this is for each session, I would write in the date and then the number of hours for that session. And I'd write it for each applicable, sessions that we're going to meet, and then put the total here. And then participants would initial each time, and I'd give them a total so that I can easily verify their hours at the end of the class. And this may change, so don't get too attached to any of these rosters. And then here is an example of a single session roster. And you can pick your session. So that's just an example of how some of the reports might look. And same idea, sign in, so on. But one of my favorite reports is the evaluation summary. Obviously, we don't have data in the system yet, but after your course is completed, participants will have access to an online evaluation. And after they complete that, you as the instructor can go in and look at the data from their feedback and get their feedback. It's all confidential, so you don't know who said what. But it's a good practice to go and review that. As educators, we should be reflective and kind of use their feedback to kind of guide how we might approach things in the future. Okay, right. Yes, you can get the data in Excel Excel. We do have that. The access is given to the PD manager, but I'm working on seeing if we can add the menu to instructors. But all of the attendance and enrollment data is available in a Excel format, spreadsheet format. Okay, because that was a question. And Chad, yes, it would be great. I just don't always know who's coming ahead of time, but we can work on that for the next training. Okay, back to the next section. So that is reports. Another tool at your disposal is invite, register, and cancel. And this tool does exactly what it sounds like. It gives you as the instructor the ability to send out invitations to targeted groups of people, inviting them or notifying them about your PD opportunity. It also allows you to register people that fail to register themselves or just need a little help registering for a PD opportunity. If someone needs help canceling themselves from a course, we give you the ability to do that. Or if you need to just cancel your entire course, when you use this tool, it will cancel everybody's registration, send them an email, and set the status of your course to cancel. So to use the tool, you pick the option you desire. You're going to select your course from the drop-down menu. I always like to select all sessions because if I'm registering someone, that puts them in the entire class, not just one session of the class. And I select my credit type. And then I continue on to the next step. If I'm registering someone that maybe is just having trouble, I find the easiest way to do it is to look for them by name, but there are additional ways to add and find people. If I'm going to register someone, I can just click on the first letter of their last name and I can start typing till I find them. This is my little person, my test person. You see I clicked and it kind of flashed. And if I come to the next screen, here's the person I selected. If for some reason this was not the right person, I picked the wrong person, I can press the trash can, it'll delete them, and I can return back to this screen and find the correct person. And you can add as many people as you need. And once you've got your list looking the way you want it, just press the register button and they're added to your course. They're sent an email letting them know they've been added to the course. If for some reason you didn't want them to be emailed, before you press the register button, you check this box and press register. And they're added to the course, but they're not emailed. So it's just a tool that we give. I always like to point out when you're using a new system, some staff struggle. And so we try to provide opportunities to everybody to help get everybody across the finish line. So that's one way we help, is with giving instructors the ability to register those who just can't seem to figure it out.
Hi, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I might not, I'm sure I'm not being clear in my question.
Yeah.
In the past, when we had face-to-face meetings,
Yeah.
participants would come in and they would sign on a blue sheet of paper that said they are the people who are attending. Now that we've gone virtual, we use Google or Zoom attendance sheets and fill in a spreadsheet to send to whoever is in charge of that particular budget. And so the idea of the spreadsheets that you were showing us under the instructor tab, do we have a way of cutting and pasting the list of attendees alphabetized with clock hours so that they don't have to physically sign a piece of paper?
For the virtual?
Well, or moving forward when we're going to be back partially face-to-face or face-to-face. The idea is that people at the other end like things to be alphabetized and added up in a certain fashion. And so if we can expedite that by last name, first name, numbers, and it adds it all up, and that we're not doing those things by hand, that's kind of my question.
Yes, there are spreadsheets, and I need to talk to Shelby about how we would give instructors access, because right now the spreadsheets are kind of limited to the higher level because there isn't a way to filter them by course, because reports are given to instructors that just the courses they have access to. But let me talk to one of the developers if we can come up with a way. But we have all that. It's there. It's just at a higher level than instructors have access to.
And that's fine if the higher level wants to alphabetize them and send them on to payroll, etc. That's totally fine. Well, all of us are happy with that. So,
one thing is, there's a tool in here where you verify the hours and it does all the totaling. And I think what might be better is once you do all that, then the higher level can pull the spreadsheet because it'll have all your totals ready, alphabetized to go, and then they can include a budget number and then send it. So I think we might have a plan or.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly the question right there.
Yep. Yep. And so I think it'll fit in a little later in the sequence, and the system's going to do that for you, if that makes sense. We just haven't quite.
That'd be awesome to do that for us.
Yeah. Because
okay. And since I've got you on the horn, when you were talking about emailing specific people to invite them to a course that is being offered, is that linked to our Gmail? So that when we select users, we can, a lot of us have already made, I can't remember what Gmail calls it, but little folders of like all my first year teachers or all the ELD teachers or all the secondary math teachers, where I guess select member groups or PD groups. I'm just wondering if that's linked to Gmail.
Not yet. This is linked to what's built into the system by like PD groups based on HR and positions and stuff that are kind of more like HR, but we can build some of those groups. Those would be member groups. So stuff that you guys maybe have created, eventually we can get that more synced. At this exact moment in time, they're not connected, but we can work on how to get those connected, if that makes sense.
Hey, Christina, I see super duper value in that. And so can you guys tell me, like, in your world, when you feel like things kind of land and we could actually have the Google groups mirror these groups? In my mind, it's like the second week of September, things kind of settle out. But am I off? Is there a better time to go, okay, hit the button, have them sync?
I know that that teachers when school starts tend to have their positions moved every once in a while. And so, yeah, a couple weeks in seems like a logical, I don't know, you guys who are content people.
Now I'm kind of questioning my thinking. I just saw Corey's, I mean, it kind of makes sense that maybe we figure out a way that they just talk every night. And as we add new staff, it should. I don't know. Erin, what are you thinking? I have no idea.
So the email distribution lists have owners. So depending on who the owner is, they're responsible for updating. So for example, right now, Sylvia updates all the grade level lists for teachers.
That's good to know.
So,
okay, well, that's interesting because Erin, what I was thinking is I make my own for the work that I do, that I don't necessarily go out to something that's already been created. I completely hear what you're saying on the district website. Those have already been created by someone else. And I find that sometimes they're updated and sometimes they aren't. So I create my own to use. And so that was the Gmail thing.
Oh, so your own contact group.
It seems like when we're in there labeling staff, Bree, we've kind of identified like teacher groups, instructor groups, kind of these global titles for them. But is there a way to have an additional title inside HRM that identifies them as like a middle school science teacher? So then we can group by content or departments just in the HRM world, and we don't have to always be talking to Google groups.
We can create what we call member groups, and where we can set up things like science, and we can do that. And I think that's something we want to do closer to the beginning of the school year and kind of dial down and create, we call them member groups, but they're really, that's that kind of more assignment rather than position. And
is there a way that when, you know, the Excel spreadsheet you sent Sherry Chapman and I, and I had to go in and identify instructors?
Yeah, that was from the...
Is there... Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I was rambling.
Is there a way to always have that staff list coming from our HR be more specific to people's titles and roles, so we can always be updating the member list, because people come and go every month?
Exactly.
And so I think what we'll experience that these member groups aren't always up to date.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to I will talk to HR and ask them if they can help me create the correct kind of export that we can then sync and work on that. So that would be something to work with HR on, and that we could create, and we can do a kind of whether maybe a monthly update. We could schedule something to update the data, or if we need to do twice a month, you know, we can come up with something to help try to keep the groups more current, because that is a problem when things, we don't want the data to be stagnant, because then it becomes out of date and not useful, because I do know how things move. And
So we'll keep working on that. We don't need to get stuck there, but my last comment is I bet Vancouver School District already has this figured out, or some other group that uses this platform, so maybe we could go steal their moves.
Bethel does a lot. Vancouver does a lot too, but they do it a little different. So I'll, and I know there's inside and out. So I'll go look at some of my heavy users. So I like to call them, the ones that are really, and I'll go see what kind of their best practices and see what we could steal. No, borrow, collaborate. That's the better word, right? Collaboration.
Okay. And then another question that came up was, will this have room request capabilities? So that came up with the
yesterday.
director support staff. Bree, you want to talk about that?
I am going to talk with Joe about how we can maybe integrate that in as a programming option. So I want to talk to Joe is the CEO of School Data. So that is on my list. I thought I would chat with him and get, pick his big brain, because he's kind of that visionary guy, and get his take on what he would think is best, and then kind of report back to you if that's okay.
Sounds good. So maybe we'll have that capability in August if all is well in programming land.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I always like he's the one who I'll come with people can ask these ideas and we're not sure how to make the pieces work. And he always sees things in a different light and say, well, you just do this. And we're like, oh, okay. And then he's got the talent on his team that can make it happen. So.
Okay. Awesome. Hey, did anybody want to clarify any questions you had about sign-in sheets? I did see them in the chat. Was there any lingering questions about sign-in sheets or how to sign folks in?
And we do have, and I love that you're using the Google form for virtual. That's great. That's what a lot of districts are doing, and using that instead of the physical signing in. That's perfect.
So I do have a question about some of the sign-in pieces. It is, when we're back in person, it is not uncommon for someone to jump in.
Yep.
That has been invited but has not registered.
Yes.
And part of my question is, I understand we can register them.
Mm-hmm.
Can that be done after the fact?
In that case, what I do is have them, you'll find on the sign-in sheets, there's a couple blank lines at the bottom. Have them fill it in there so they're on the official roster, and then you can register them. If the registration is still open, sometimes if they have a device, have them go register right then and there and get them in, but still have them write their name in on the pencil or on the paper sign-in sheet. We want them registered. And then we'll have an electronic record in the system so we can give them credit. Nobody's gotten in trouble for doing that. And I worked in PD forever in Vancouver and never had a problem with OSPI with that. We just want the people to register. I know it says prior, well, whatever. They're registered. I guess we'll say that it was prior to completion anyway. I don't know. It's a hard one, because we can always.
Okay, so we can still put them in after the fact. That was my main concern, because we've been able to do that before.
When I always say there's technology issues. Sometimes, they try it, just things don't work out. They maybe had an issue with their account. There's always justifiable things where you just can't say no. But get them on the sign-in sheet. That's your list, because it mainly comes down to providing documentation. And if they're on the list, that's our documentation. That's your backup to OSPI. That and you're doing your best effort. They're not going to ding you for that. In all my experience, they're not going to ding you for that. So yes.
Thank you.
I have a question. When certain trainings are funded under a certain category and you have all your list of participants, is it possible to know what their position is when they register? Like, would it say their name and their position title to ensure that they registered for the correct training and not necessarily just kind of signed up for everything?
Yes. So on those reports that you can run prior to your class, like registered by course, it should have the participant's name, and like these are kind of silly because I'm using a fake person, me and Shelby, should have their position and their location listed for you. But we can modify these reports. Like, you probably don't really care that it's Yakima School District, and we can reorganize this and put position and location next to each other. And I believe on the sign-in sheets, it did have their position and locations listed. But if they don't, we can add them because they should have been there. And we, like I said, these are just what we put on there for, oh yeah, we will put the position's supposed to be on here. We'll put that in there. Like I said, these were just kind of, we just threw these up. We hadn't had time to really work through these. The other one has their position. Like I said, don't get too attached to these. These were just kind of placeholders until we had time to really work through and get things approved. But yes, we can have that. I even have some districts, we have like 5 or 6 sign-in sheets. Some where budget numbers get written in. I mean, we can create whatever you guys need. Some have like a sign-in time and a sign-out time because they want to track if somebody leaves early. I can provide Shelby with many samples of what other districts are doing, and then we can take from those samples and create what's best for your school district. I just wanted to have something up on your site to show for the training, but we get to have fun and make what's best for you, if that helps, hopefully.
And how about certified versus classified? Like, will there be a distinction on those two groups?
We can add that if you need it. We can put employee type on there. And your HR, I think, they might have it like admin, certified, classified. They might actually have 3 distinctions. But we can include that as well. And if the data, we have lots of data in the database. And so data in can always be brought out and included on a report. So yes. Okay. Anything else? These are great questions. I love it.
Do we want to hop in there and make up some pretend course requests?
Yeah. Should we show them how to do attendance and send an email from the system first,
Sure.
and then we'll do fake?
Okay.
We do.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, I'll quick. We have just a couple more utilities to show you, and then we'll go in. We'll make a fake request together. So you have a utility to add additional seats to a course once it's open and on the website. And so maybe you end up with a wait list and you're like, well, I think I want to add more seats to this class because I can accommodate those participants. So we have this course utilities, and you're going to select the option seats, find your course, and pick a session. You'll repeat it for both sessions. It'll tell you the total number of seats the course had and how many seats are remaining. And then you're going to put in your new course seats total. So if I want to add more seats, maybe I want to set it at 200 seats now, I'll press save. This would update to 200, and I'd have 198 seats remaining because there's only 2 people that registered. If this course had a wait list, and maybe this said -5, 150 and -5, and I updated this to 200, once I press save, this would, when I looked at it again, this would say 200, and this would say 45 seats remaining because those 5 people on the wait list would have been sent an email, and their status would have changed from waitlisted to enrolled. So you use course utilities because it initiates a process where the system has to go in and do something. And in this case, it's finding the people on the wait list. It's updating their status, like I said, from wait list to enrolled, and it's communicating to those participants that they're no longer on the wait list. And then I would repeat this again for my other session, and that's kind of how it works. But that's how you adjust your seats for any courses. The next tool that you have a menu item called Course Attendance and Email. And that is the first item on the dropdown. And it looks kind of similar to Course Request. And it's going to be a listing of all the courses that you're attached to. So whether you created the course request and you were listed as the lead instructor, or you were just added as an additional instructor on the Sessions tab. And, you know, it's got some of those same things that you see on the course request menu where you can run a course detail report. You can see the registered students if there's a wait list. But there are two additional menus included on this screen. One, you have the option to send out emails to all the registered participants. So if you click on the little email icon, the envelope, it opens a screen and you can go and type your subject and type your email. Down at the bottom of the screen, it'll indicate how many people will receive your email. So it's how many people are registered. You have the option to load the course info, which means it's going to put the course ID number, the title, the start date, and the location. You can remove anything you don't want. Maybe you don't care about them knowing the location. And you can compose your message and then press send. When you send it, you will get a copy of the message as well, which is kind of your confirmation that the email went through. If you're sending this out and you've got like 100 people that are going to get a copy, don't panic. It may take a few minutes and might sit on the screen. And people panic when stuff isn't instant, but it's running through a process and checking and sending. But it will eventually make it through. I've gotten panic support tickets because it took longer than 2 seconds. So just realize if you have a lot of people enrolled, it might be a little pokey. But the more important tool on this screen is, it says grade, but it's really, this is where you go to verify attendance. So who came to your course and ultimately how many hours did they attend? So how many clock hours are we going to award them? I always like to say, review your sign-in sheets or your documentation of who attended. And I also like to point out that as an instructor, if you want to receive clock hours, you need to register yourself and sign that sign-in sheet. However, clock hours cannot be awarded to an instructor if you are the only participant of the course. That when they made changes to the clock hour rules in 2019, that was one change they made. So to prevent instructors from, you know, proposing courses and then just for themselves because they needed clock hours. And then I like to take that sign-in sheet, and especially if I have like penciled in names, because we just talked about that, and then I look at my grading screen or attendance verification screen and make sure those penciled in names have actually gotten registered, either by the participant because they went and registered after the class began, or I registered for them. Sometimes I print the sign-in sheet before someone actually registers because I'm just too efficient, I guess. I don't know. So I like to open the grading screen and compare everything before I actually start the verification. If anybody doesn't show up on the grading screen that's on my list, I go back to that invite, register, cancel menu. I get them added. And then I actually go and I verify attendance. And that's where we click the little pencil. And since this class hasn't really happened yet, I'm not going to actually do the process, but it's pretty simple. There's 3 steps, and we put them in bold on the top of the screen to kind of help remind you. The first step is you press the Mark All Complete button. And what that does is it gives everybody a grade of verified. So they go from not verified to verified. And soon this paid button will be hidden, sorry. And it updates everybody's earned amount to the total, the max total for the course. Everybody, the course had 6, so from 0, they go from 0 to 6. So that's the first step. The second step is you edit your exceptions. So you look at your list and you look at, what you calculated, and you say, well, Test here, she only came to 3 hours. And so you would edit her record and you change it from 6 to 3. And you could put a comment if you wanted, put only attended 1 of 2 sessions. You don't have to put in a comment. I'm one of those kind of, what's the right word? Particular people that likes to leave detailed notes, because if I don't, I can't remember. And it's just me. And then I would save the record. And you would go through and you would amend or edit anybody's record that wasn't, that didn't earn the full amount of records or full amount of hours. If someone didn't attend, you would change from a verified to a no-show, and the system would put them back at a 0, and it would automatically add a comment of no-show, which means they just didn't attend, because people sometimes sign up and then for some reason they don't cancel their registration and they just don't show up. And then after you've gone through, everything matches, looks perfect, the last step is to press grading complete. And 3 things happen when you press grading complete. The first thing that happens is all the participants are sent an email letting them know that you verified their attendance in the course. And if anybody hasn't completed their course evaluation, they'll get a slightly different message just reminding them to please do so. The status of the course is going to change from open to grades in. And the third thing that happens is the PD manager gets sent an email letting the PD manager know that you have verified the attendance of that particular PD opportunity, PD course. And they're going to kind of expect your documentation, your attendance records to be coming their way. Because I like to train a district that you've gone through and done all this work and put in people's earned hours, but we like someone else to double check, because it's always good practice to have a second set of eyes, because we're human. It's easy to miss something. And then they're going to go in, review your work, and sign off on, yay, it looks good. And then they'll update the status one more time to complete, which then notifies HR. And then HR can ultimately award and transcribe the credits to the employee's transcript, and they can print a transcript or an individual clock hour report. And at that point, we can have an Excel spreadsheet with hours and all that great stuff that can be generated and sent off to payroll. Okay, that's a lot of talking. I want to show you, we showed you as an instructor how to print a report, but as an employee, you'll be able to print reports as well. And they'll be, you'll be able to print once courses are verified and then HR posts them, you'll be able, it'll be added to your official transcript. And you'll also be able to print, if you want, just a single clock hour form for a particular class. Once it's been posted, you can print a course schedule, which kind of breaks down the course by session and has all that information. If you're a classified employee, if HR has any credits stored on you in the HR side of things, this isn't just include stuff in the system, but this is any credits like college or whatever. You can run a credit report and it'll show whatever information that HR has entered into the system. If you're a certificated employee, you can run a certificated credit report, and this is the information they use for your salary placement and all that fun stuff. And for certificated employees, you can run your work experience report, and that's what HR also uses when it comes for placement. So those are reports that are available to employees, and you just run that under the My Records menu. Okay. That's okay. And then I include a little slide here, talks about the different statuses of courses, and it's kind of in the order they follow. And we talked about when you create one, they're pending, you submit it, goes to review, gets approved, it's open. After you verify grades, it becomes grades end. Complete is when it goes to HR, it's verified by PD, goes to HR, then HR gets to post it, and it's added to your transcript. Yes, teachers do not have to send any of their internal paperwork for any classes offered within the PD system to HR anymore. It's going to all do it for them. Only their outside clock hour courses or college stuff. All the internal stuff will be done here. HR no longer has to type it in. It all gets magically added for them. So that's one benefit of having a PD system that you guys manage. It saves a lot of time and effort for like Cindy Vixler. She's not going to be typing anymore. Well, a lot less. So, okay. And lastly, one other menu that's important to know. As an instructor, there is at the bottom here, your resources. So these are the written instructions and all the tools that you have at your disposal as an instructor, kind of broken down into step by step. And I will actually link up the little PowerPoint I've been using and put it on here too as well, so you have access to that. Okay. Now, logging into your account. Shelby shared the URL. So you click on the login button and you're going to put in your email address and password. If you don't know your password, you can send yourself a password reminder and it'll email to you. But if you don't know your email address, I can look it up for you and tell you which email address is currently in place with the system. And if you need it updated, because maybe it's a personal email address instead, and if you want it updated to your Yakima address, I can do that for you as well. Shelby, I'm going to turn it over to you for a moment and take a sip of water.
Okay, sounds good. Sorry, I was multitasking, full transparency. Bree, what do you need from me right now?
I was just going to say if you wanted to add anything. Molly wants to know specific launch date. How about that?
Why isn't my camera? Oh, there we go. No. Okay, there we go. Okay, so specific launch date, we were gonna let the leadership team know during the admin retreat, which would be 14, 15, 16 of June. I heard the TNL director say they want it live in June. They're already starting to kind of populate some things in there. TNL directors meet in early May to do some priority mapping for PD. And so there will be kind of a slow rollout. Things will start posting in June in here. I don't have the date though. Like we should probably give you a hard date, huh? I don't know. Erin, is there a hard date you think we could call out, or is it, I mean, we're kind of already starting to populate things, but we're not really
Yeah,
having
I
staff
think
sign up.
as directors, we need to get our weeks identified.
Mhm.
So we don't want people to find out later they need to change dates, so.
Yeah, so maybe at the early May TNL director meeting, we'll list those priorities and make sure we're not bumping into each other, and kind of set on this day, you can start utilizing the catalog in June. So we'll announce kind of the live date and time. Sound good? Sorry, can you tell I'm learning as we go too? Hang in there with me. I'm learning as fast as you guys are. What else? Launched in the system. So summer PD, if your director's ready to go that route, then, and we go live on a certain date in June, then so be it, right? So work with your director on whether or not you guys are going to put your summer PD in there. For sure, August, September, all that stuff, but each director will be working with you guys to kind of put your PD together and all that stuff. I know you already have a lot of stuff kind of mapped out and listed or kind of floating around out there, but in the next couple months, getting that to land and then work with your director. And we'll give you a launch date. So teachers will not have to send in paperwork to Cindy Bixler unless they take clock hours outside YSD. Christina, did you get that answered? Okay, cool. Do we still have to complete sub-request forms? So right now we do, but eventually this system's gonna talk to a system called SubReady. We're just not there yet. So for now, we're kind of in this middle ground of like, we're moving to kind of a tech-based online, but the sub requests are still paper-based. So hang in there as we transition like HR payroll subsystem.
Kind of baby step.
More,
one
Yeah,
phase,
well,
one phase at a time.
mhm. Any other questions, guys?
I know someone.
Can we do, oh, go ahead.
Ladies first.
Who was the lady?
Go ahead, Chad.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it was me. Sorry. And I apologize. I had to step in and out for a minute, so maybe this got addressed. But is there a part of the system where we can delineate STEM clock hours?
Yes, yes. Let's go and show you right now. That's a really important question. So when you're adding a course request, at the bottom of this screen, if you check the STEM box, mine pops up to the top. It's kind of annoying. An additional box opens, and you could indicate which areas the course is going to be covering, you know, because you're supposed to be teaching a minimum of 2 of the 4. So maybe this course is going to be science and engineering. And then we have you answer 3 questions, and you save that. On the individual's clock hour form and transcript, it will say that that's a STEM course. So when they go and for certificate renewal, they'll know exactly how many clock hours count towards STEM. And we can pull reports just like anything with criteria and you know, we'll have reports available. So you'll know as a district how many courses are STEM you're offering and whatnot, and how many hours have been provided. Does that help answer that? Hopefully.
Definitely, yes. Thank you, Bree.
You're welcome. And same with, we have the ability for paraeducator courses. Same kind of idea. You know, we've got all the different standards embedded within the system, so you can tag and say, this is me, this is, you know, FCS, Fundamental Course of Study 6, the equity, it's 3 hours, and it also flags the record. And for some districts, we actually made kind of a separate paraeducator transcript. So, and then we can run reports for HR so they know which of their staff has completed what or is in progress, all that fun stuff. So those kind of things are all available. And then for TPEP here, this is, you can just pick which TPEP item might the course be relating to. Okay, sorry, a lot of rambling.
Molly, you asked, when will YSD staff know about the move to HRM? So there's a memo out this week for principals to inform their staff in like a staff meeting and communication about HRM Plus. Central Services has been a bit in the loop, like from the TNL side of the house. So our TNL world knows. The principals are getting trained in the next 2 weeks. And then I still need to work with Erin to find a time for IFs. And then over the summer, we'll do some of the paras and classified staff and get them kind of exposed. So, and then if we missed any group, we'll grab them. But at a building level, the principal will announce in some type of staff meeting or bulletin or however they communicate with their staff. It's an action item they have to have done. Anything else? Okay, Bree, can we let them play?
Yes, please.
Because this is where we get good input. So I kind of want you guys to get in there and make up a pretend professional development request, a course request. And then as you go through that process, it's really nice because you guys will see things that we don't see. And this is your time to say, hey, could we add this? Could we tweak this? Because Bree can go right in and start making adjustments. And if we miss anything and you go in there later, it's as simple as emailing Bree and I and saying, hey, I noticed this wasn't in the drop-down menu. Could we add this CTE label or things like that? And then it's just kind of a living platform that we keep making better and better with your input. So we've got the skeleton there as best we could, and we looked at other districts who use it. So if we could all go in and do a course request, just make up a pretend one. Bree, if you could point us in the right direction, and then off we go.
Yep. So when you log in, you'll want to navigate to the course request tab, and then you'll just start by pressing the add button, and you'll get this lovely screen, and you'll want to go fill it out. You'll pick your course request type, single or multiple session course. That's the ones you're going to want to focus on right now. Category type is kind of a umbrella of what it best fits. Is this an administrative course? Is this a course for classified staff? Is this something that fits best under teaching and learning? Is this special ed? And it color codes the course on the registration screen. Each category type has a slightly different color. Then you're going to assign it a school year. So which year is this course going to happen in? You'll notice there's years that have already passed. It's because the system shares a database with HR, and they have job data to those years, and they have employee record data to those past years. So just ignore them. Pick, either this year or the upcoming year. Give a title, choose a location. Some of these locations might be weird because HR also uses this locations table for posting of jobs. So don't stress if you're like, well, that's a weird location. We just have to share, because this is a shared database. You're going to put in your course description, or I always say it's your advertisement to your audience of letting them know what's going to happen. Start date, end date. Registration closing date is the last day the course will be visible on the course registration screen. So you as an instructor have the option to shut down registration a little early, or you can extend it, maybe a little late for sometimes, for those people that have trouble registering. That's totally kind of up to you. The system will automatically populate your evaluation end date. I'm going to talk to Shelby exactly what we want the window to be, but the district's going to decide how many days they want to give participants the opportunity to complete their evaluation. You're going to ignore this little ignore end date for evaluation. For now, you're going to select the evaluation form, Course approval, this is something HR uses for posting credits to the transcript, and it puts in number 2, but once you save it, it shows the actual word, which is current assignment. But if for some reason you can pick a different one, like if it relates to school plan or special education or teacher evaluation, by all means, pick that for the course approval reason. You have that ability. Authorizing administrator right now, it's either you're going to select either Aaron or Shelby. Your name will show up under course requester because you're filling out this form. And lead instructor, it'd probably be you if you're going to be the lead instructor, or you can select somebody else. And then you'll write your objectives. And then you have the option to tag, to put any of those flags on the course. And like I said, this one shows up on that transcript or the clock hour form so that participant can use that for their certification renewal. And that's that first page I talked about that you want to try to get done within that, I think it's 45 minutes before the page times out. And you have to fill in all those red, the ones that are in red, they're required before it'll let you go to the next page and save your record. Okay. Oh, and Carrie needs to know which email. Hold on, Carrie. I will tell you. I have a spreadsheet I downloaded with everybody's emails. Let me go here. And Carrie, yours is, I'm going to put it in the chat. And I can change that to your Yakima email if you would like me to. Okay, I'll change it after we get off the training. And yes, I will, Lori. I think there was 2 of you today that had personal, oh no, Lori, yours should be that. If you're if it won't let you in, I will log into the administrative account and check on things. If anybody's having problems, let me know. Make sure nobody's locked out. We've got a few people. People logged up. I'll fix. These are, we'll work on that in a little bit. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I'm going to sit here and answer questions. So if anybody has questions, let me know. But please go and play and kind of have fun creating. Anything you create on the course requests page, we can erase and kind of clean up before we go live. So have fun. Don't worry about anything. And like I said, if you notice anything that's off or missing or misspelled, because I'll admit I'm a math and science major. I'm not a good speller, so sometimes I miss things. Just let me know.
So your exit ticket is to do a fake course request, and then we'll know if you see anything in there that you want to look better. Bree and I will just hang out here and wait for you guys to chime in if you see something or if you need help. Like, we really need some underwater basket weaving courses in our catalog, so please post something like us out.
A quick question around doing a pretend one. Can we do a real one?
Yes.
Will it be in the system for, okay.
I won't delete
Awesome.
it because we're going to ask people before I delete anything, is this a real one or a fake one? Because I know that question's been asked. So thank you for asking that question again. That's a very important and valuable question.
Yeah, like Pam was in there yesterday building the Principals Cadre series for next year. So we'll leave that.
Yeah. Because I would hate for you to do a bunch of work and then I actually delete it and you'd be mad at me. So no, we'll check.
Chad's really mean too, so like watch that one.
And the beauty of the system is, you know, it can always be added to and changed as your district's needs change. Or if the state throws a new wrench our direction and say, hey, now we have this new requirement that you have to track. That's, you know, kind of always been our purpose, is that we want to offer flexibility and compliance with the state. So we keep our ears, you know, peeled and listening to what's coming and try to help collaborate with you and be a team. So things like reports, you want to make sure you have the right reports. And when it comes time to extract data, work with you to design what's going to be most meaningful. So just keep that in mind.
Shelby, do you know if we'll still have access to the course requests that we made in the old system? I'm a big fan of copy and paste.
So, excuse me. In the old system for course requests, I don't know what that is.
You can
So when we've requested courses in the past and listed the objectives and everything, just that work that's already been done, if we're going to repeat proposals.
So like, okay, so let me think this through. It was on paper, right? Or like you would do so this is where my ignorance comes in. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna be dumb in front of you. So I remember like a PD specialist would fill out, like we have a Friday professional development, and then you would request the clock hours through the ESD, which is no more, but that PD approval form, see, I don't know all the process, you guys, from the past, because I never did it.
Okay. Okay.
So where did it go?
So go back and access that system. So
What
is it
system was it?
proposals?
Well, we still have access to the ESD, Molly, if that's what you're asking. Is that what you're asking? So we could go into the ESD and pull up our previous courses, I think, if you're wanting to copy and paste our descriptions from before.
Right. I'm just wondering how long we'll have access to that for, but maybe we don't know yet.
The clock hour information from the ESD should be archived. So if we need to request reports from them, I think that's doable. I think where my brain was confused was I didn't know if we have like an online thing that I just didn't know about for just a general PD request for Yakima, regardless of clock hours. I just always saw paper getting pushed around.
No, it was just this archaic system, but we still had to do the proposal online and then get it approved by ESD.
For the clock hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so the ESD has all those archives. So we could request, if you guys email Aaron and I and say, this is what we wish we knew or had a report on, then we could help facilitate that.
Okay.
So, related question to that is, us becoming a part of this system, it doesn't remove us from the ESD 105 system, right? So all of what we've been doing there will still be accessible.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're moving into a phase where now we manage our own PD and our clock hours. The ESD is their own manager of regional PD and clock hours. We no longer need them for managing our clock hours. So if we want to go take an ESD PD, then we sign in on what's it called, the PD enroller now. They've updated to the PD enroller. But if we want Yakima PD and clock hours, then we sign in through HRM Plus. And then Molly, you would not have to have the ESD approve anything anymore. You just submit your course request here. And then Aaron and I and Myrtala and maybe a few other directors we'll get a alert that says there's a PD request, and then Martala checks the clock hour part of it as a first lens, and then we kind of scan it over, and then we hit approve, Martala hits approve, and then the committee goes on a 2-week or 3-week cycle of just clock hour, like we had in the past. They're just really going to monitor those clock hours. And then probably quarterly, Erin will facilitate another committee, or maybe the same group, that looks at the evaluations from our professional development, so that we get some kind of global data about how we're serving our staff, whether they're happy or not with the PD we're offering, and if we could do better. So we'll also have an evaluation cycle in there, like a quarterly one, just to check, is everybody getting their needs met?
Hey, Bree, I've got a quick question for you. I'm in there doing a proposal, and I've hit sort of a glitch spot.
Okay. What's that?
Or I think it's a glitch spot. So I'm on the course facilitator.
Oh yeah, we don't have any facilitators added, so they're not
Oh, okay.
required. So you can just skip over that.
Awesome. Thank you.
We haven't decided if we're going to use that role yet. We may integrate it later. But that's a good question. I didn't address that, so thank you.
Bree, did you see Lori's request to have ELA and SLA in there?
She asked if they needed to become combined, or can she select 2 options? And I told her she can select 2 options because they're there separately, I believe is what he was asking.
What do we want for the future, Lori?
Well, we want all and all. So sometimes our PDs are for our ELA teachers and our SLA teachers at one time, but sometimes we offer them separately. So we would want them separate. So as long as it's okay to choose 2 content choices, and we can select both, and that's fine.
Yeah, you can select as many content as you need under each criteria.
Okay.
You just have to select a minimum of 1. Sorry.
Okay. And then I'm on the my records page and trying to update my personal information, and it's not allowing me to.
Yeah.
Is it just too early?
So HR locks you out of that.
Oh, okay.
So what do you need updated? And I might be able to help you.
They have me living in Oregon, so.
Oh, funny. Okay. So you want, and the reason they lock you out is because I would email HR, because then they check other systems to make sure it's all updated in all the systems. Does that make sense? So.
Yeah. Shelby, do you know who in HR I might email for that?
Sherry Chapman.
Yeah.
Sherry Chapman. Okay.
Because yeah, it's kind of funny. I know they have you correct in Skyward, which, you know, you get paid and everything, but they just didn't update you on this side of the house, is what typically happens.
Okay.
And they may say, oh, well, we should change that and unlock it. But at this moment, it's locked, and I don't want to mess with their process without.
Hey, Bree.
Yes.
What I might do too, because I don't think Lori is the only one, is I'm gonna email Sherry Chapman for everyone and just say, hey, could you have someone in HR go through the staff list and contact list in HRM and match it to their current location or address? Because what I see in here is everyone's based off of their first application to Yakima School District.
Yeah. What they could do is, if they want to data mine from Skyward and send me everybody's address and phone number, I can run an update for them, so they don't, you know.
Done.
So, and that might be the easiest, is I'll just update everybody's information for them.
Okay. Because I think that's happening for a lot of people.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Because if you created a job application, you know, you put in your information at the time, and if you relocated, it changed and you got locked out once you became an employee. So, and they're just
And
not
then-
in the habit of updating that information because you're in Skyward. That's the crux when you have so many systems to maintain, and that's part of the reason why we're slowly working to have everything communicate. And so,
Yeah.
like I said, we have these phases that we're working towards where we'll get things ironed out and better. But if you printed the
So
clock hour, individual clock hour form, you'd have the wrong address.
Okay, so I'll email you and Sherry right now on the Skyward part. And then Carrie Backlund's email's not working. Can you give her a YSD7?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yes.
I just went in and DRATs. I filled out most, but not all of my, I'm on page 2, I believe, and I didn't put down AWSP because I thought I'm not a principal.
Yeah.
So I didn't fill that in. But I should have filled in non-applicable. Oh, never mind. I'm going away now.
I did the
Okay,
same.
so
Yeah, it's there.
on the course location,
Yes.
what course location is really the professional development center, the PDC? Because it's got district, it's got math, it's got Yakima SD. They're all titled as resource centers.
That is a good question. We need to set up a meeting and talk to HR because they're the ones who initially created this lovely list of locations, and we didn't want to mess with what they did. We might want to make a new one that's separate. And I can't answer that question. But we can.
Okay, I'll just pick one of them for now.
This came up yesterday from the office managers, so it's on our list to fix with HR. So Sherry Chapman and I have a couple little work projects right now, but this is awesome because it's part of the process.
Yeah, this
right?
is.
Like you guys see these.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. I said, yes, this is perfect. Thank you.
Another thing I came across when you are adding your what type of credit, clock hour or classified, then in the next section it just says credits, and you have to add a decimal number of how many clock hours in order to move forward.
Oh.
So that just felt clunky. I wonder if it could say number of clock hours or something.
I can change this word from credit. Would you prefer it to say credit hours, or I think we can update this label if it would be more helpful.
I think that the term credit kind of confused me too, because
I think on
Would it just be block hours.
Well, would it be better we put training out or credit hours?
Or just hours even.
Yeah, hours is better. I'll change it to hours. I think I can go in and update I think I have access to the language on this screen and I'll make it hours.
Okay.
Other states do different things and so the systems market it to try to be flexible, but I can make it be hours. I'm pretty sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then is there a way that it can automatically change it to decimal form? Because I had to go and look at the blue icon to see what I was doing wrong.
Yeah. Yes, it wants a decimal. I can put in a suggestion to the programmer and see if they could do that. And we'll just see what it would take. But for now,
All right, thank you.
and I could maybe see if we can put a little thing, credit hours with decimal, or we'll see what we can fit in the space. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good morning, Bree.
Hey. Good morning.
Hey, I noticed in the target audience, sometimes some of my PD is directed towards secondary English ELD teachers, English language development teachers.
Sure.
And I noticed if I would to select like the middle school, then I would have to probably create another proposal for the high school. So I was thinking, is there a way we can add another target audience?
Sure. What would you like it to be?
Well, I know we have two groups. One is specific to the elementary ELD teachers, and the other one is secondary ELD teachers. I also noticed in the category, in the content focus. It says multi-language learners. I was wondering if we could change that to multilingual learners.
Yes, yes. Definitely. Okay, I'll update that. Okay.
But then I know sometimes also we are moving because of WIDA. We are moving to training teachers, and it doesn't have to be specific to elementary or secondary, but it's all. So I'm just trying to think, just how can we be concise about one group as well.
Well, if you think
with that movement.
Yeah. Well, if you think about exactly how you want it, and then when you have it ready, you just email me it and I'll add it. How's that sound?
That sounds perfect.
Okay,
that's just developing.
Yes, that's perfect.
Thank you.
No, thank you. And let me go find the multilingual.
So Bree, as you are finding that, I'm wondering about teachers that are outside of our district. So for example, national boards, sometimes we have some teachers join us from near districts but are not in our district, and so they could get clock hours through ESD. So could they do the same through our district?
Yes, you can. You can decide as a district to open up your system to outside participants. In Vancouver, they open it up to private schools in their area. They allow all their substitutes to get clock hours, and in Vancouver, we have like 6 school districts within a 10-mile radius. So you can. Right now, I hid the create account button while we initially launched so that we don't have staff creating multiple accounts, but we can, I'm going to log out for a second. We can put it back on there and provide them with directions and set it up for outside users like national boards and however, we'll just work together on how you want to identify them in the system, because we can set up a second district. Right now, everybody by default is Yakima School District, so we could put outside district or whatever we think is best, so that on sign-in rosters and stuff, they're identified differently from everybody else. Does that make sense, sort of?
Yep. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bree, I have a question.
Yes.
I am at the part where it's section 6.
Ooh,
it's optional course link.
Yes.
Okay. What you probably covered this, but what would that, like, where would I want to link a course, or why would I want to link a course?
Maybe you have a Google document that you're going to use with your participants, or maybe you want to watch a YouTube.
So resources.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was linking to another course. So this is linking to like a Jamboard or something I want them all to have access.
Yes. Yes. So some other website, it's just resources, and we could even title that course resources instead of links. It's a link you're tagging.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Add a course link. Yeah. When I look at it, it makes sense. But I just was thinking, I don't know. my brain thought I was linking it to like something else. Like if you've taken this.
No, that's a good,
okay.
That's a great question to add. So,
okay.
And not everybody uses that feature, but it's something we like to offer.
Yeah. And then when I hit continue, I'm to the part where it just says add new session.
This is where you put in the details. So I don't know if you picked a single or a multi-session.
Single. I put a single.
So you're only going to have to do this once. So you press that little add session.
Okay, this is
Complete this
add session.
the funds part. So your sequence and your activity.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is where you tell
So this
people.
is the details.
Yeah. So you're going to tell them when to show up, or what time's the session starting, when's it going to end, and exactly where they're going to go. So you kind of told them the location on the beginning of the request, but now we're going to give them the specifics. And
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yep. I remember you saying that in the beginning, but now it's getting our hands in it.
Well,
Yep,
it
that
drives
makes
me
sense.
nuts that this is at the end, because in my
That works.
yeah, well, I like it. I think it should be closer to the beginning when my brain is fresh, but that's how the architect of the system designed it. So I guess it's kind of neatly close it all up. I don't know.
But that helps. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was another really good question. So thank you. You guys are definitely the most chatty group, and which I appreciate, because sometimes, you have a training and you're like, oh man, I don't know. So thank you. Virtual trainings are always tough.
Hey, Shelby,
These
who
will
should we
be our
put in? Who should we
active
put in
users
as our
too.
authorizing admin?
Oh, sorry. Say that again, Colette. We were both talking.
Yeah, sorry. I was saying, who should we put as our authorizing admin? You or Aaron?
Does it only give you two options?
Yes.
Honestly, I don't think it matters, because we both see the same screen. So whatever works for you.
Okay.
You
All
can
right.
both authorize, we both see the same screen pop up with your course request, so you're good.
Okay, thanks.
And then I was just saying, Bree, this group will be our most active users in the system.
Awesome.
So we want to take really good care of this team.
Good. That is great. That makes me happy to hear.
Bree, I am stuck. I am kind of, I think, where Lisa was. Under course registration, click to add a record. It is for an online classroom management.
Course registration.
Uh-huh.
You're here?
No, sorry. I'm on course request.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to do. And I am doing classroom management. It's the fourth one down. Next one down. I can't count.
Oh,
There
no,
you go.
you're fine. My eyes are getting, I'm getting older. I don't see everything. Okay, perfect. Yeah. And
So
which
keep going forward. And keep going forward. Next.
So you've gone really well.
No.
Are you doing agenda or no?
I did link I linked the online module delineation.
Okay. Are you stuck?
But I believe I'm here and I am befuddled.
Okay. So you're going to press add a session.
Yep.
And
I did that, and I initially said that it was starting on the 17th of May and it goes till the end of June.
Okay. So, all right. So you're going to add your first session, which is
Yep.
And
So I did that.
Okay. And what was your start time? What was your end time?
Noon to noon. Does it matter since it's online?
So is this an async? So they're going to work at their own pace, or is it like a scheduled?
Correct.
Okay. Then you can go asynchronous.
I did not click that. Okay.
That might be why I didn't, and then you could put I would put that this is like virtual.
Yep, I did that I said online, but virtual.
Online. Either way, it doesn't matter. Did you
I like virtual.
I
said 10 and 150 for seats.
Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna see what happens on my end if I try. Okay. 150 seats, 150.
And then,
okay.
Okay.
You have to put in a seat remain. They have to match. It's weird.
Okay.
And that's the one thing. And if you have to fill this one out, and that's probably, if you missed this one, that's probably why it didn't work, because it's required.
Yes, it made a red thing, but it said you had to do that somewhere else, I thought. So my bad.
That's okay.
Okay.
what I often do when it's an asynchronous session, I like to, you don't have to, but you might put some information.
I said, thank you for registering, blah, blah, blah. You'll complete it on your own, blah, blah, blah.
Perfect. Well, we can add, I'll
Okay.
let you type that in. Do you want me to save it and then you can come back in and edit it? Or would you like to just try it on your own?
Yeah, no, well, because then I don't really, how many sessions do I have to make?
Just 2. You could put 1 for the end date because it
Okay,
selected
perfect.
multi-session. So you just have to add 2. So you can actually copy what I did because I added it.
Yep.
And
Okay, thank you.
the final
Perfect.
date. Yeah. See, good question. Nice job. This is how we learn, by doing. Well, I know that we kind of hit that time limit. So if people need to leave, feel free, and I'll stick around because I don't have a time limit. But I just want to put that out there for people if you need to be somewhere because it's 11. You're welcome to head off to your next thing. But I'll stick around if people have questions and they want to play and get questions answered, and make myself available.
I submitted mine and I do have another meeting to go to, but will I get any feedback on whether I did it correctly or
if you made it,
or
if you were
just
able
the fact that,
if you
what's that?
if you submitted it, then you probably did it correctly. So
Okay. Well, okay.
but yes, we'll look.
Hey, you
at it.
guys, I apologize. I got multitasking again. If you need to bow out, bow out. I hope you got